NXT starts off with Dark State versus the Vanity Project for the NXT Tag Team titles. This match was a really good match. This was a really good match. Very fun, very chaotic, very fast-paced match. I really enjoyed this match. Towards the end, you end up getting Jackson Drake ended up putting Brad Baylor's foot on the ropes. The referee sees it. You end up getting Cutler James and Dion arguing with Jackson Drake, try to confront him. Security comes out. They're all arguing. Everyone's distracted. And then you get Osiris attacks Jackson Drake to get rid of him for him not to, continue to interfere in the match. But then you get Tony D'Angelo. He comes out while everyone else is distracted. He ends up choke slamming Saquon Sugars on the ring apron, throws him back in the ring, and then Brad Baylor ended up getting the pinfall. And now the Vanity Project are your new NXT Tag Team Champions. This was great. I love this. This is exactly how I predicted it. I had a feeling Tony D'Angelo was going to interfere in the match because Tony D'Angelo did say he wanted to take everything away from Dark State. Makes perfect sense for him to interfere in this match. This was great. I love what they're doing here. I like the Vanity Project. I really enjoyed them. Like I said, I think they have a lot of potential. This is a faction that I think can work on the main roster, and I think they have it. I think they all have it. Personally, they're good in ring. They have solid characters. They're natural heels, in my opinion, that generate good heel heat. And I like the idea of them all holding gold. You got Jackson Drake, the main guy, holding the Evolve Championship, and you have the two other guys, his lackeys, holding the tag team championships, which I think is great. This is something small for them, where you're not putting them immediately in the main event scene, but you're still giving them TV time, giving them consistent time to grow their craft. I like this person. I like it. Plus, it was time for Dark State to lose those titles. Their reign and their story has ran its course. It's time for them to move on to different things, which I do like. The NXT Tag Team division is looking pretty good right now. Hopefully, they continue to book them well. Hopefully, they have the recipe. Shawn Michaels has the recipe for booking a solid tag team division. He just has to continue to do what he's been doing for the past 2 to 3 weeks. If he continues to book the tag team division like this, the tag team division is in good hands. But I like this win for the Vanity Project. I'm actually excited to see what they do with those tag team titles. Moving on, we end up getting a quick match between Keanu Carver versus Sean Legacy. This was actually a solid match. Keanu Carver did have the advantage for majority of this match, but Sean Legacy did have a little bit of fight in him. But this was solid overall. This was really just to showcase Keanu as a dominant force. Very interested to see how they build Keanu Carver, because I don't know where he fits later down the road. I'm assuming they're going to build him up very slowly, because I don't see him winning any type of gold anytime soon, because I don't see him winning the NXT Championship anytime soon or the North American Championship. So I'm assuming they're going to build him up very slow, but I like Keanu Carver. I think he has a lot of potential. Now, I don't like comparing him to Oba Fembi, because I feel like that's kind of ridiculous. I get why people compare him to him, but I feel like just comparing Oba and him just because they're both black guys who are dominant, I just feel like that's a bit, I just feel like that shouldn't be a thing, because Keanu and Oba don't really act alike. They really don't. Like, if you want to make a comparison, I guess you could say he's like Oba, but he's like a more arrogant, ignorant, and a more reckless version, if that makes sense. Like, Oba is more laid back, more calm, more charismatic. He doesn't lash out at things like that, where Keanu just doesn't care. I would say he's more of a Jacob Fatu than he is a Oba Femi, in my opinion. That's more of a better comparison in terms of their characters. But nonetheless, I like this. I like this version of Keanu just acting reckless, just doing whatever he wants, and just crashing out. I like it. So I'm interested to see what they do with Keanu. I'm assuming he's going to have a very slow build, because, again, I don't know where he fits in terms of the title picture, but I like what they're doing so far with him. We get a speed championship match between Jasper Troy, Elio LaFleur versus Eli Knight. This was a really good match. It was a 7-minute time limit. This was a really good match. This was a really fun, exciting match. Really enjoyed it. Very fast paced. This match actually exceeded my expectations. I thought Jasper Troy would kind of ruin the flow between Eli Knight and Elio LaFleur, but no, he didn't. He fit perfectly into the match. Towards the end of the match, you end up getting Eli Knight. I think he went for a frog splash, but he ends up bouncing off of Jasper Troy. This allowed Elio LaFleur to get the pinfall instead of Eli Knight. So Elio LaFleur is your speed champion. I like it personally. I think he fits that division perfectly with his style, with his luchador style. I like it. And I like this gives him something to do, because you don't want to put him in the main title picture or in the North American title picture. Put him in the speed stuff. Give him some more reps. I like it personally. I like what they're doing with the speed championship. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I am growing to like it more and more, especially because they have been featuring it every week. Because the Speed Championship for the longest time for me was giving me Heritage Cup vibes, where they barely showcase it. So at least they're showcasing the Speed Championship, so I do like it. Plus, I'm very high on Elio LaFleur. I'm very high on him. He's great in ring. I think that with some more time, he could be one of the bigger baby faces on the roster with his in-ring style, because I really think I'm that high on him. Love his in-ring work, especially if they give him more of a character, showcase his character a little bit more. I think he's going to be one of the bigger stars on NXT in the next year or so. So I'm very excited to see what they do with the Speed Championship, because I think he fits it perfectly with his style. So I'm actually excited for this. So I'm very interested to see how this all unfolds. Moving on, there was a quick segment with Lola Vice and Kalani Jordan. They end up getting into an altercation. Then you end up getting Lola Vice end up asking Dr. Stone for a match at Avengers Day. Yeah, I think it's going to happen at Avengers Day, and it's going to be an underground match, which between Kalani Jordan and Lola Vice. I'm very interested in this. The feud has been really good. I'm assuming this is the blow-off match, which should be very interesting to see how this plays out. Now, I'm assuming I already know how this is going to play out, because Lola Vice doesn't lose underground matches. I can't remember the last time she has lost an underground match. I don't even think she ever lost one. This is typically her thing where she doesn't lose. So Lola Vice is clearly going to win this feud, which I'm not mad at. I prefer Kalani winning this feud. I'm just higher on Kalani than Lola Vice right now, but I understand why Lola Vice would win this feud. I think it makes sense for her to win, so I'm not really complaining about it. Should be a really good match nonetheless. I'm very interested to see how this plays out, because I would argue this is probably the best opponent that Lola Vice has ever had in the underground match. I think she had like 2 or 3 of these. I know one of these was against, I think, Natalya and Shayna Baszler, I think. So Kalani Jordan would easily be the best opponent that she ever had in this type of environment. So I'm very interested to see how this plays out, especially because there's no ropes or there's no like turnbuckle or anything. So I'm very interested to see how Kalani actually pairs in an underground match. So very interested to see how this all unfolds. But I've been really enjoying this feud. I really have. I've been really enjoying this feud. This feud has been one of the more entertaining things on NXT for the women. So I'm very excited to see how this plays out, but I'm assuming Lola Vice will pick up that victory. Now, for the best thing that has happened on tonight's show, we end up getting Sol Ruca versus JCJ. So the match starts. Zaria immediately, well, before the match starts, actually, Zaria ends up spearing Sol Ruca. Zaria spears Sol Ruca, picks her back up. The match starts, and then JCJ ends up hitting her back fist, picks up the victory, and retains in like 5 seconds. Then afterwards, you end up getting Zaria hits a F5 on the announce table, which this was great. This was executed perfectly. This was perfect. This was executed perfectly. This was perfect. This was perfect. I am hoping to God they send her to the main roster. We do not need a feud. We don't need a feud. Send her to the main roster. Let her do her own thing. Do not do a feud. If you're going to do the feud, you better do what you did with Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams, where Carmelo does the job for Trick. Have Sol Ruca do the job for Zaria. Sol Ruca does not need a victory over Zaria. We don't need a long-term feud. Have Zaria destroy Sol Ruca and have her move on, or have her get sent to the main roster. Now, there was a segment backstage where Zaria wanted to call her shot for JCJ, and she has a match next week for the NXT Women's Championship. Pull the trigger. Pull the trigger. Pull the trigger. I love JCJ. I do. I love her. Very underrated, but it's time. It's time for Zaria to finally get the spotlight that she deserved. They was chanting Zaria when she turned on Sol Ruca. It's funny. She wasn't even getting heel heat. She was getting cheered. She got cheered in this segment. People was chanting Zaria when she turned on Sol, which I thought was great. So, look, it's time. It's time for Zaria to get built like the monster that she should have been presented since day one, but they presented her like a loser. This is the time to do it. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. What I think is going to happen is they're going to have the match happen. Sol Ruca comes out, calls Zaria the match, and they run the feud to Stand and Deliver. That's what I think is going to happen. Do I want that to happen? Not really. I just want Zaria to win the NXT Women's Championship, have her run that division, because I do think she is one of the better options to dethrone JCJ. In my opinion, the main people I've been saying who should dethrone JCJ is Jada Parker or Zaria. Those are the 2 people I've been saying that should dethrone JCJ. And I love that Zaria isn't friends with JCJ. I like that she was like, look, I didn't do this for you. I did this for me, and I still want my shot, and you owe me, basically. I love how they're presenting Zaria. Just pull the trigger, please. Don't drag this out any longer. Now, I'm assuming they're going to drag this out to Stand and Deliver. I'm assuming they're probably going to have Sol Ruca cost of the match, but I am praying that we pull the trigger on Zaria. Have her win NXT champion, have her be NXT champion, have her go on a dominant run, have her hold that championship for a while, and just have her go crazy with it personally, because it's time. She deserves it. It's time for her to stop being a sidekick, so I'm hoping this heel turn is executed well. We end up getting a quick Tatum Paxley promo. She basically ends up saying that how for so long she was insecure, how she tried to fit in with people and try to be loved by people, and how that she didn't find love in herself, and that she always try to make her friendships work by just doing whatever they wanted and try to fit in with them. But she ended up realizing that she could just be herself, and that she started listening to the fans instead of listening to those that have betrayed her. Then you get Izzy Dame. She comes out. She ends up saying a few words that wasn't that much, and then they end up getting broken up by security, where they was trying to attack each other, but security breaks them apart. And then it transitioned immediately into the speed tournament for the women, which I thought was strange, because like it transitioned like very quickly, like, which I thought was weird, because like they barely got any time, and then they just ignored it like it never happened, which I thought was strange. But they're gonna have the North American Championship match, I think, at Vengeance Day, if I'm not mistaken. I'm very conflicted on who should win that match, because I don't mind either person winning. I want Izzy Dame to win because I do think she needs it more, especially because I don't know how much longer Tatum Paxley has at NXT, but at the same time, I'm not that confident when she goes to the main roster. I'm just not with Triple H booking. But at the same time, I wouldn't mind Tatum Paxley winning another championship, because she barely got to be an NXT champion. So if she could win the North American Championship, hold it for a little bit, I wouldn't mind it either. I don't mind either woman winning. I think it works out perfectly, in my opinion, depending on who wins. I think Tatum Paxley is going to win this feud, but I don't mind if Izzy Dane wins as well, because I think it would benefit her more. But either way, I like the feud itself. I do think the feud has slowed down a bit, because they have been getting a lot less TV time for the most part, because Tatum Paxley hasn't been on NXT television in like 2 to 3 weeks. They've been having her cut vignette packages, but actually be on the show, they haven't really been on TV. So they have took a step down with the storyline a bit, where it's not getting as much focus as it was when Tatum Paxley was in the group with the calling. They have slowed down on this feud a bit, but nonetheless, it's still been a solid feud, so I am interested to see how this all unfolds. Now we end up getting a women's speed tournament match between Thea Hale versus Blake Monroe. Okay, so Jada Parker interferes in the match, costs Blake the match, and Thea Hale wins. A lot of people are complaining about this. Look, you Blake Monroe fans gotta stop crying and bitching. It's not that deep. It's not that deep. Not everyone who comes to NXT is going to be an instant champion, bro. Y'all got to calm the fuck down, bro. At the end of the day, it's NXT. Just because you don't win much at NXT doesn't mean you're not going to be well on the main roster. It doesn't mean you're ruining your credibility. Number one, Jada Parker cost her this match because they're in a feud. That's number one. And then people are complaining that Thea Hale had beat her again. She only won due to interferences. The plan was never for Blake Monroe to ever be in this tournament in the first place. She was only in here so Jada Parker can recover from her injury. That was it. The plan was always Jada Parker and Blake Monroe. This was the best decision, because what, you want her to win the speed championship? Like, no, that would be dumb. Like, she's in this feud with Jada Parker, and then people are going to hate because she's in a feud with Jada Parker, who is the most over woman in in the division, by the way. She's more over than Blake Monroe, so I don't understand. But, you know, Jada Parker is hated. She's basically like the female Jey Uso. It is ridiculous, the amount of hate that Jada Parker gets, but it is what it is. But I'm very interested to see how they eventually wrap up this Jada Parker and Blake Monroe feud. I'm assuming they're going to have a match at Vengeance Day. Could potentially add a stipulation to it to make it a bit more interesting. But I'm excited to see what they do with this feud moving forward. We end up getting the main event between Osborne versus Ethan Page for the North American Championship. This was a solid match. Really enjoyed it. Towards the end of the match, though, you end up getting a lot of interferences. You end up getting the Vanity Project interferes. Then you end up getting Hank and Tank and Shiloh Hill. They interfere because they're running a program between those three. It's going to be a 6-man tag match next week. So they interfere. They end up basically getting rid of the Vanity Project. Then you'll be getting Ricky Saints try to interfere, but then Joe Hendry comes out, stops him. Osborne does pick up the victory. He is your new North American champion, which I do like. The only thing I will say is that, why did Osborne have Osborne came out like a superhero in this match, because he kicked out a 2 Razor's Edge, which was already ridiculous, because the Razor Edge is one of the more protected finishers in NXT. No one really kicks out of the Razor Edge after they hit it. So the fact that Osborne kicked out a 2 was a bit wild, because Osborne wasn't even built up that strong leading into this match. He wasn't. Osborne was losing matches leading up to this match. So that's a bit confusing to me. Then also, he kicked out of 2 Razor's Edges and kicked out of getting hit with the title. That's a bit ridiculous. Like, I understand what they was going for, but it's like, again, if you was going to do this, why did you build him up like a loser going into this match? Because I don't even think Miles Bourne won a match going into this match. Like, Miles Bourne lost a few matches going into this match, so it's like he wasn't even built up that strong for him to be kicking out of all this. That's just that's my opinion. But I don't mind Miles Bourne winning this match. I think it makes sense for the character and the story they was going with him finally being able to beat the guy that's constantly been in his ear telling him that he needs to pull the trigger. So I do like that. Interested to see what he does as North American champion. This episode of NXT was great. This was a great episode of NXT. NXT continues to be the best weekly show, continues to be the show that I am the most excited about. The only complaint I guess I could say is that there was a lot of interferences in every match. But unlike with Triple H, one, he doesn't do it that consistently, and two, when he does do it, it makes perfect sense. With the Vanity Project, it makes perfect sense for there to be interference because it elevates the story of Tony D'Angelo going after the Dark State, so that makes perfect sense. When it came to the NXT Women's Championship, that makes perfect sense for Zaria heel turn to eventually either become NXT Women's Championship or eventually continue to feud with Ruca. This is a bit different because with Shawn Michaels, he does it to progress a story. With Triple H, he typically does interferences and DQs mainly to protect wrestlers, not to further a story for the most part. So I enjoyed what they did here. This was a great episode overall. But you guys let me know your overall thoughts and opinions down below. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my content. But yeah, that's it.